pushing through on this painting today. It's coming along. There's even more on this side of the painting, which if I just rotate the tripod, be able to see how much more there is. So I spent last week just kind of detailing these figures. I'm going to do another layer on him, this guy in the bronze helmet. His face is fine. I think it's just the helmet. I'm not liking the colors. And then I just kind of, this was super quick, just painting in like these sort of illusion of like lots of helmets behind these figures in the foreground. That didn't actually take that long. It's just to give the illusion of, you know, that there's more and more legions in the background. You can see I've got like these brown marks that I scrubbed in for where, you know, there's going to be like more flags and eagles and things in the far off distance. I might change the proportion on that. But this side is looking pretty good for the most part. There's still a lot unfinished. Like I still need to paint this in there. I still need to do another layer on this guy. The horse here needs a bit more work. It's just not quite there. But generally this side of the canvas is looking okay. So I figured I should probably come back around this way now and catch up on this side of the painting, because as you can see, there's a lot of underpainting there that needs to be filled in. So I've just primed this guy's shield with a bit of medium. And I am going to focus on painting him in today. So I'm not going to really talk that much during this stream. I'm just going to jump right into it. I've got my paints mixed up for the shield. I'm going to give him like a very sort of like navy blue sort of color for the shield, I think. And I'm going to try and capture that light sort of hitting that reflective surface. All right, so let's go. I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of draw in the shadow shapes first, just kind of rough them in. So you'll notice how I really start by scrubbing the paint in very thinly. That's always a good way to start. I think if you're unsure about anything, about the colors that you're using or the values maybe, just scrub it in lightly just to get a feel for it. And by painting thinly, you really have much more control for when you want to add more paint on top of it. If you paint with very thick brush strokes a bit too early on, it can get very slippery, and it's just a bit harder trying to stay in control of the image. So I like to paint thinly first, and then I'll kind of thicken the paint up a little bit later. You notice how the shield gets a little bit brighter towards the top. So that's kind of like the effect of the fall of light. So basically what happens, if the sunlight is like high above, then the top of the shield is going to be sort of catching more of the light than the bottom. So as the object travels away from the light source, that's why you get that sort of light gradient effect happening. And I can choose to exaggerate that effect if I wanted to. Or I can keep it quite subtle, like I am right now. Really depends compositionally what you want. If you want to increase the contrast on that light gradient, that's obviously going to pull the viewer's eye towards this part of the painting, right? But if you keep it subtle, then it's not going to attract as much attention. And I just knocked the camera, sorry. I think that looks a little bit better. Looks like it's sort of catching the light a little bit more, sort of got that effect, more or less. And I like how gray the shield is, like it's not too vibrant, which is good. It's kind of what I'm after. Okay, so let's actually try painting in some textures, like little scratches and dents on the shield. So all you got to do is just grab like a slightly darker color. I'm using a pretty flat brush right here. Not thinking too hard about it, just kind of going for it. And then using the same brush, I'll grab a highlight color. I'll just kind of put it right next to those dark spots, and then that just kind of gives the illusion of three-dimensionality. So I'll do that again for this one under here. There you go. So you see how that kind of looks like the shield's sort of been dented and scratched? That's how easy that is. You don't have to overthink that. You literally just bit of dark spots here, not too dark, you know, but dark enough that there's a difference. And then you just place like a highlight right next to it where the light would be catching. And that's literally all there is to it. You don't have to spend hours rendering things like that. And it might not look brilliant right now, but later on, you know, I'm still going to paint the center here. And then when it's dry, I will paint all of those elaborate decorations, kind of like on this shield here. Do all of that, and then, you know, it's going to look a lot prettier. But when it comes to form or creating the illusion of form, you don't have to think too hard. You just have to just keep it simple. Keep it basic. Let's grab this color. Just want to come around on this side here. Just chip into that. You can even grab like a slightly darker tone if you want to do like some very tiny cast shadows. And that shield is obviously casting a shadow onto the figure, probably about there. So I might just grab just a really dark, almost black. I'm just going to scrub that in as a placeholder, because I'm not really painting his armor just yet, not in this session. I just want to focus on the shield first. I can do that later. But what I will do, any kind of dark areas, any areas of occlusion, shadow, I can just scrub in as a placeholder for now. That will also actually just kind of bring the shield forward out of the underpainting, and it just gives me a bit of a better idea of how it might look. It just helps to have these forms jump out at you like that, especially when you're in the early stages of painting a figure. Just looking for those opportunities of creating light and shadow. But I think I'll leave that. So now I've got to paint the center, which is like this, it's kind of like these metal plates, like this brass plate. So I'm going to mix up the color for that. I'm going to go with, I'll just start by mixing an orange. Because when I think brass, I think, you know, warm tones. So I'll start with an orange, and then I'm just going to mix a blue until I get this very greenish, orangey brown, very muddy looking, very nondescript color. So that, my palette is very messy, but that's the color I've just mixed right there. It's very dirty. And dirt is good when you're mixing paintings, by the way. If your colors are very nondescript and you're not quite sure how to define them, then I think that's how you know you're on the right track. Same as the shield, I'm just going to patch it in very thinly. Just kind of scrubbing it into the canvas. And I like that effect. I like how it looks a bit more translucent. Translucent. Can't speak today. Kind of similar to how I painted this one. It's like there's a lot of tones in that. There's a lot of blues, grays, greens, some reds in the shadows. So you're always looking for that kind of translucent quality if you're drawing anything metallic. So I just find if you patch it in very thinly, it's a lot easier to get those kind of tones that you're looking for. So I've also added in my mixture to get the reflected light of the sky. I'm mixing in just some ultramarine blue and a bit of titanium white, and I'm mixing that into this pile of color that I use for that brassy part. And I'll patch this in. And that's still a bit too dark. So I'll just add a little more white. Painting it in very thinly. I'm not painting it in too thick because I might need to adjust the color probably. That's not bad. It's not bad. It's a bit green, which is kind of what I'm going for, but you know what? You see these blues that I mixed for the shield? I might grab some of that color, since that's like a very pale gray blue, which I think is kind of what I'm looking for anyway. So I can actually just grab the color that I've already mixed it in with my new mixture. Bit more white. Just trying to get the effect of that sky reflecting in that bit of brass, as if it's like bouncing off. There we go. That looks a little bit better. It's not bad. Needs a bit of work. So I'm looking to create some warm highlights now. Because you can see on this form, like there's this sort of spherical volume that protrudes out of the shield, out of all of the shields actually. I'm not sure what the use of that is. I mean, I know there was a reason the Romans had that on the shield. I think that bit of metal is like if you slammed it into an enemy's shield, it would like crack the enemy's shield or something. I'm not sure, but I think there was a reason they had that, and I'm sure that was the reason. But anyway, I'm painting the same volume on this one. So anyway, what was I doing? I'm mixing a warm highlight. So this is, the warm highlight is going to be the highlight that reflects the sunlight. So I can estimate maybe about there. I mean, it's all placeholder. Obviously that top part there would be catching the sunlight there. And do you see how that already kind of looks three-dimensional now? Like I just put some basic color on there without thinking too hard about it. And the colors are kind of working. I've got some warms, I've got some cools, I've got like a highlight on the volume. It's already working. The only thing I have to do now is really texturize it and make it a little more, detailed. But I wouldn't have to make it as detailed as this. This is right in the foreground, whereas he's further back. So I don't want to go overboard on the details. There still has to be like an hierarchy of detail when you're composing an image. Okay. Yeah, not bad. Don't be afraid to embrace some of those more textured brushstrokes. You don't have to overblend everything. Yeah, that's got a nice effect of light and shadow now. That looks a lot more 3D. You can see the shadow from this form dropping onto the shield. And that's going to look even better when I start painting in all of the, the decorations and the patterning and things like that. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so I need to let that dry. I might keep working on this bit, but otherwise I think that's okay. I think I can just leave it there and let it dry. So there you go, a bit of a quick demo on how to like sort of mix your temperatures and your colors, and just a bit of a quick tutorial on developing form. Basic as it is, but simplicity is good. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I know that was a very quick one, but I'm going to carry on with this in my own time. And thank you all for watching, and best of luck on your own creations.